helpful. And this is the key question. I think one aspect of the narrative is we need each other to simply to do the art of seeing. So seeing requires collective action. We need to learn to see together. And I think that's a big idea. Yeah, that takes on a whole new aspect, but I think that's part of the story. It's this, with the seeing comes a visioning and a sort of a recognizing, yes, we're in for some sort of tough times, but that way forward, it's not like locked in solutions. It's locked in approach. It's locked in a way of, it's a way of seeing together and learning how to adapt, constantly adapt, and celebrate where sort of transformation systems are emerging. Now that's all language, that's all sort of jargon, but where really fertile ideas are emerging. And I do believe the story of place, the meta story of place, the meta narrative of place, it's as if its time has come back. And it's not as if we've ever left it, but its time has come back. I think this meta narrative of place is so critically important. And this sort of idea of nested systems. You know, we became almost just infatuated with this idea of global, and it ended up being globalization. And I think what's happening now is localization is coming back in the zeitgeist, and it's recognizing that the globalization has had enormous challenges. And it's another sort of big meta narrative, you know, giving legal status to natural systems is sort of emerging. You know, there's really good expressions. In fact, we did a story map on this very thing, on people in places around the world who've really begun to give rights to nature. So it's thinking about that in new ways and thinking about what does that actually mean for us to coexist in a very, you know, in a more dynamic way, again, as part of this regeneration pathway. So the pathways, it's the other good thing about this pathway concept. In this, I think, fits really well with the sort of Western meta narrative, and it goes all the way back to the Arthurian legends of things like the Grail, where it was considered sort of unwise to go as a group. It was considered best to go as individuals in search of the Grail, but you'd go to the darkest part of the wood where there was no path. And I think in many ways we are, so that sort of hero's quest, I think it's now we can think of that as our regions. We are the collective heroes of our region, and we need to go in quest of how we in our sort of regional area are making our way forward and sharing with the others. But it's moving from the individual, the unit of you know, it's moving from the individual as the hero to the collective as the hero. But I do think to sort of build off of that, what creates that unity is the place, is we are all of this place, and that creates our journey. So it's how do we transform that classic Arthurian myth, the hero's journey, into something that's more collective, and that we're learning how to see together. What we do is when we begin these bioregional macroscope groups, we say, okay, each of you have amazing superpowers. Talk about it. Talk about your description. But now you're coming together as a group, and you're coming together for a group in service to the place. So what you need to do is come up with a name that honors your collectiveness, your collective superpower, and your commitment to the place. And so it begins to shift from the individual to the collective, to who we are, not who you are, but who we are. And it's the thou that is so powerful there. For example, I'm working with some folks down in Costa Rica on a regenerative pathway to Costa Rica. And the narrative there, the meta narrative is, when you come here to visit, these are the foods you really need to look for. Don't look for hamburgers. Don't look for French fries. Don't look for, that doesn't exist. That does exist, but you don't want it. What you really want are these things. Speaks to regenerative agriculture. And then when you go to visit into the forest, these are the places to go visit, to see, to express. So, and I really believe that people are they're gonna want to add. We want to add meaning to our life. We've been so bereft of meaning. And so as we travel, how do we travel with meaning? And it takes a village, 4 letters, 4 words. It takes a village. That's it. That's the new paradigm. And essentially that's it. It takes a village. We're never going to be able to work through these things as an individual, but yet we are the West. We're not the East. The East has a very collective mindset. We have a very individualistic mindset. We need to become more collective, but not so collective that we're changing sort of the nature of who we are. It takes a village. I think that's the meta narrative. That it's in that individual empathy and care that creates the wellspring for this collective seeing of each other. And also it's almost like the DNA of a people of the place. So how then to bring those different aspects together? It really does take a village to see together in that empathetic way.